my name is Gabby and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, then welcome to my channel, and in today's video, we are going to be wrapping up my February 2023 reading month. The content warnings for all of the books I talk about today will be linked down below in the description. One of these books does have some resources listed in the back, so those will be down there as well, along with links to my journal with me, and spoiler-free reviews that I did for a couple of these books that we are going to be talking about today. And we have 4 books that we are going to be talking about today, so let's go ahead and start doing that. The first book that I finished is Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. This book takes place 17 years prior to The Hate U Give, and it follows our main character Maverick Carter when he finds out that he is going to be a father. However, his gang connections and participation impacts and complicates this. I already knew what I'm about to say from reading The Hate U Give and from reading On the Come Up by Angie Thomas, but Angie Thomas just writes such good YA stories. Like, everything that I've ever read from this author has really blown me away in terms of quality, and this book is no exception to that. If anything, it's a reminder. You can tell that there is a lot of heart put into this story and put into the characters. Like, even the most side characters in this book felt three-dimensional and fully alive on the page. There is so much complexity, and the character exploration for our main character, it has to be some of the best that I've ever read. And that is something that I always find myself looking for when I read, so when it's done well, I always really appreciate it, but when it's done to this extent, the appreciation and the gratitude just go to an entirely different level. I was so invested and engaged with this story the entire way through. I definitely gave it 5 stars, which I do believe is a perfect record for me and Angie Thomas, which is not something that is shocking necessarily, but it is something that I am very, very grateful for. Next up is Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is an Own Voices adult romance novel that follows our main character Chloe Brown, who comes up with a list on how to get a life after almost dying. She wants to do something bad, which for Chloe is not as easy as it sounds even with her step-by-step guidelines. So she enlists a heartthrob handyman artist with tattoos and a motorcycle to be her guide, and she begins to learn things about him and what truly lies beneath his tough exterior. My favorite parts of this book were by far the characters. Both of our main characters have a lot of depth to them, which I really appreciated. And I thought both of Chloe's sisters made incredible first impressions in this book, which only makes me more excited to continue on with this series and read their stories. I also really enjoyed the romance. This is a spicy romance novel, and I thought that those were well written and utilized throughout the story. That being said, a couple of them didn't really work for me, which is the case for me in a lot of romance novels, but this one only had a couple of those scenes and the rest of it was honestly amazing. And also fun, because there was a lot of really cute banter and moments, and I felt really invested into their relationship and also their individual growth as well. My only other complaint about this is that I do wish that the beginning of their relationship towards the beginning of the book was developed more and maybe just a little bit slower. But at the end of the day, do I really care about that? No, I don't. I still really enjoyed it, and I'm going to be giving Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert 4.5 out of 5 stars. Next up is The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. This is a magical realism story that takes place in New York City and follows a group of characters who can feel the pulse and the soul of the city itself, as New York City itself has 6 souls, some that are ancient and some that are new and destructive. I have a lot of mixed feelings about this book. On one hand, I think it's inventive and vibrant and interesting, and on the other hand, it's a lot, and I mean a lot, of words. The story felt slow-paced, which again, I liked, but also I didn't like because of the writing style. Like, this was very hard for me to just physically read at some points, and it's the same thing with the imagery. Like, I loved a lot of it, but I really struggled with it sometimes. I feel like I was having a lot of trouble visualizing things at times, and the imagery does take up a large portion of this book. So even though there were a lot of moments where I loved it and it was really working for me, there were also a lot of moments where it really was not. I feel positive feelings about the characters that I'm supposed to be feeling positive feelings for, but then again, I also feel pretty neutral about them. But I also do feel pretty attached to them, like specifically to them as a group, so it's just like a weird mess of emotions and feelings that I have towards this. I will say there's definitely a lot of heart that was put into this story. It feels like a love letter to New York City in a lot of ways, while also calling out the ugly sides of it too. Both are present day, and also history. I have a combination of good and really bad memories about this book. I don't know which side is going to win out when it comes to whether or not I will be continuing with this series. It was going into some pretty interesting directions towards the end of the book, and I am really interested in that. And I want to know where it's going to go, but I also kind of don't. I do think that this author has other books that are going to work much better for me. It's just this series that I feel really unsure about, but I will be giving this book for now 3.75, 3.5 out of 5 stars. And the final book that I finished in the month of February is This Is My America by Kim Johnson. This follows our main character Tracy, whose father is an innocent black man who is on death row. Every week she writes letters to an organization called Innocence X in order to ask for their help. She is beginning to run out of time, and when her brother gets accused of killing a white girl, Tracy begins to investigate what really happened between them and uncovers the racist history of her Texas town and how it still haunts the present day. I think that this may be one of the best YA contemporaries that I've ever read, and because of that, I am going to get my one minor complaint about this book out of the way first. The love triangle, I was not completely in love with it, and I felt like parts of it still felt unfinished towards the end of the story. That's not to say that I didn't like the romance though, because I did. I just wish it was that the entire way through. But other than that, I thought the rest of this was literally outstanding. I really loved our main character, and I really loved how the author formatted this story into a mystery novel format. I thought that that was done really well, and I know this book is getting an HBO Max live action adaptation, and if done well, I think that that is going to be amazing and that the story fits perfectly for that. This story also does show the impact that America's racist history has on present day, especially when it comes to corruption and racism within the police and criminal justice systems. This is also the kind of book that makes me wish that I annotated books because there were a lot of really good quotes. And I was super impressed with the writing style all around. This is a debut and it's definitely one of the strongest debuts I've read. And it was also a really quick read. Like, these pages were flying by. I am very much interested in whatever this author writes in the future, and I will be giving this one 5 out of 5 stars. Okay, those are all of the books that I read in the month of February. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and answer the question that'll be around here if you want to do that, and hopefully I will see you here next time. Bye!